It's Lunar Meow Protocol, and I'm a composer, but I do a lot of other stuff for games too, like programming, designing, and in this case, 3D modeling. So I'm gonna teach you how to make a blender in Blender, the 3D software. So I'm gonna walk you through modeling and shaders, materials, everything you need to make this. So this that you see right here is the final image. So let's get right into it. So in this new Blender project, you always start with a cube, so delete the cube, you don't want it. And then the main shape of a blender is a cylinder. But we're not actually going to use a cylinder because it's not a perfect cylinder. It's like a cone, barely a cone, and you'll see why. So I added a cone with Shift A, and going to this menu in the bottom left, we're gonna decrease the vertices because we don't need that many, to maybe this many, 14. But then, yeah, we don't want a perfect cone. So play around with these two options until you get something that looks kind of like this. So basically a cylinder, but it's not. Then you can click out of that, and we're gonna right click and shade auto smooth. So it smooths the things that it thinks should be smooth, and it doesn't smooth the things that it thinks shouldn't be smooth. So based on an angle there. All right, anyway. We also want it to be standing on like a stand, kind of. So click on this X, and with G and then Z, you can move it up and down like that. So move it just kind of like that. It doesn't matter too much. Then we're gonna create another cone. We're gonna have a lot of cones in this model. Again, we don't want a perfect cone, so just decrease the depth, and we want the stand actually to be more of a square. So set the vertices to 4. And you can play around with this until it looks pretty good. I'm gonna go with that. But we can't have it inside of the blender. So let's move the stand down until it's right here. And then we're gonna add some curved edges. So go into edit mode, and then go Control B to bevel, and then bevel it. So add curved edges. And you don't want to do it too much, maybe that much. And set the segments to 3. And go into object mode, and again, shade auto smooth. And it made it a little bit bigger, so let's GZ to bring it down a little bit until it's level with the blender. Alright, we've got this basic shape done. Let's do some materials. But before we do materials, we're gonna have to do lighting. So, and before we do lighting, we have to fix this little thing where this is turned sideways. So just click on the stand and RZ45 to rotate it at a 45-degree angle. Alright, now we can do lighting. So we're going to switch the render engine from Eevee to Cycles. Cycles is a ray tracing engine, so it'll look way more realistic. And it'll work for glass pretty well. So let's press G and then Z to move this up to the ground. And now we're going to create a plane for the light to bounce off of. So we're going to create it like that big, pretty big. And then we're going to Control Z or Control C, Control V. We're going to go into the top view and G until it's like here. Doesn't matter that much. Then RX45. So it's rotated at a 45-degree angle. And then just play around with this. It can be inside of the other one. It doesn't matter that much. It's just so that the light can bounce off of something. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So now let's actually add some lights. Go into rendered view, and there's this default light right here. But we can do better than that. So delete that light, and we're going to create a area light. And I'm going to GZ so that we can see where it is. GZ up to about here. Now set the power in this light bulb tab to something that kind of lights it up pretty good. Not that much, maybe. Maybe 50. 50 looks good. Now we're going to rotate it. So RY45, enter, RZ -45. Go into top view and grab that until it's like right here, so it's getting the blender. Now go back into top view, Control C, Control V, and grab it, put it over here, RZ -90. Now we're going to grab it and put it like that. And we're going to set this one, instead of 50, to 40. Now, Control C, Control V. Put this one right here. And RZ45. We're going to grab it and put it here. And we're going to set the power of this one to only 10. This is a trick that I learned from the video that I put in the description. Now, since we have the lighting set up now, we can finally start getting to materials. But before that, I just need to do one other thing. We need to add a handle. So go into edit mode by going there. Go into face select, inset another face like that. Then extrude on the Z-axis. Sorry, extrude, it'll already do it. And then we're going to S to scale the face to make it a little bigger. So now we have that handle at the top. Okay, now we can get to shaders. We need to have only part of the blender actually, because we don't want the handle part to be glass. So click and then Control-Alt-click to get a face, like all the way around like that. Press Shift to select that face too, and now press P. Separate by selection. So now we have these as two different objects, so we can give them two different materials. So on this one that we want to be glass, go to the Material tab and give it a new material. Let's go into this mode for now, but we'll switch later. So go into the Shading tab, and okay. Now go into rendered mode so we can see it better. And we're going to go to transmission, bring the weight all the way up, and bring the roughness all the way down. So now we have the glass material. That was pretty easy. So I'm just going to get the lighting a little bit better by making these lights a little bit more powerful to get the scene a little bit brighter. And we're gonna give these materials, so I'm actually going to select these and G and move them further away. I'm actually moving them further away so I can get the power up on them so that the scene looks a little bit brighter. I'm gonna do it even a little bit more. Okay, great. Now, so that these are not gray, add a new material and change it to like a yellowish. Do the same for the other one. Now that we have this, let's get to the other materials. So for this one, we didn't even need to go into the shading view. Just bring it all the way to black. We're gonna maybe bring the roughness up a little bit. Maybe bring this more to a gray. Play around with that, but this is what I think looks pretty good. Select this, and you should be able to use the same material because they're both black. Okay, so we have materials, except there's one thing missing. Yeah, there's nothing inside the blender. What's a blender if there's nothing inside it to blend? So you can go into Photoshop. I'm gonna be using GIMP. So in GIMP or Photoshop or whatever, just create a new image, make it maybe 1024 by 1024. And it defaulted to purple for me because this is the last texture I drew. But set the background to purple and add a bunch of little dots like this. This is not a GIMP tutorial, so I'm not going to walk you through exactly, but once you get something that looks kind of like this, you're good. Now go back into Blender And we're actually going to duplicate this other one. So Control C, Control V, and we're going to scale it down so that's inside of it. We're going to G, Z, then we're going to S, C. Get it right how you want, like this. But we're not making glass smoothie. So make sure you have this selected and press the X so that it doesn't have that material anymore. Now go to New and just make sure it's working. You can drag it out to make sure it's actually what you think it is. And oh, look at that. So we're gonna go into edit mode and select all these. You can do that with Shift Alt click and then F to fill with a face. Now go into object mode and press slash again to bring it back. And we don't want it yellow, that was just for testing. So we're gonna go into the shading viewport again, drag the base color out, and get a image texture. And we're going to open the one that you saved. So I'm getting the one that I made. Okay, it's imported. Now we're gonna go, so that we can see it a little bit better, we're gonna go to render, and in the viewport, check denoise. It makes it look way clearer, but there should be a setting here that lets you start on a certain frame. So if we go into denoise, here it is, start sample. It will blur out the texture if we have it on the first few samples, so make the start sample 6. It'll have noise, and then it'll denoise. But wait, we still have this texture too big. So go to that, it can be here maybe, and we're gonna drag out from the vector and get mapping. Now we're going to drag out from the vector on mapping and get texture coordinate. And we're going to do texture coordinate UV. So the UV is connected to the vector. Now, with mapping, we can change the scale so that, like this. So I'm gonna slash and then that so I can see the texture clearly and just mess around with this. Get it as small and big as you want with the scale right here. Z doesn't seem to do anything, just so you know. You can also, if you don't like where it is for some reason, you can change this to just move it. And once you have it good, press slash again, go back into, oh, by the way, you can't have the glass without rendered. It will just look like a mirror. And now, if we go and zoom in on it, we should see, there it is, a smoothie. You've done it. And I did a pretty bad job with the lighting in this tutorial, but you can mess around with the lights. Here, I've made them stronger and further away, but one major thing I noticed is you're supposed to have one in the back instead of right in the middle. So I'm actually gonna grab this, put it here, RZ180 to turn it around. And now grab it and put it like that. And fiddle with it until it's coming from the back like that. And I made this floating, so again, just do what you want with it. So this already looks a lot better. So remember with the lights, you can check out that video I put in the description. But other than that, you've done it. You've created a blender in Blender. Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. You can check out my SoundCloud page if you want to check out my music. And I also have a Scratch programming page. Thanks for watching.